What's up, everybody? It's Micah, and you guessed it, X-Men 97, Episode 9. Quick review. What a show, man. That was nuts. Before I say anything, just the way that the writers have incorporated, like, storylines from most of the comics I read when I was like a little kid, and into the X-Men. These were like storylines that were coming out when the animated series like first came out. So 92, 93, like crazy stuff. But anyway, so Magneto has let off a worldwide EMP, which is not only devastating to the Sentinels, but I mean, he basically just murdered like a ridiculous amount of people on the planet. Think about everybody that's on life support, who were in airplanes, who were on boats, who were in automobiles, who were in crashes or in elevators or anything that's relying on electricity. Like, he took away that electricity, and whoever was involved in that, human or mutant, you're dead. Like, or you're gravely injured. Like, it's bad. So I have a feeling that there's probably more than just the X-Men coming for Magneto, which we see when Xavier and President Kelly have their little spat. But so the X-Men split up into two teams. We got some awesome throwback uniforms. We got Storm in her classic goddess uniform from the the original giant size X-Men. You got Wolverine's what I call the Japanese brown costume that he wore through most of the 80s. My favorite costume. That's how I was introduced to Wolverine, was in that costume. Morph had the like shoulder pads like to go with his costume. We were missing a cape. I can't remember if I saw a cape, but it was reminiscent to that to the costume he had in Age of Apocalypse. Jubilee has the Generation X costume going on with the black jumpsuit and the yellow coat. You saw Sunspot wearing the New Mutants uniform. It was cool. Cyclops and Jean threw on their old school stuff. I thought that was really neat. It was great to see that, and obviously, the creators were trying to warm our hearts a little bit before they destroyed them. But as the episode goes, we get a lot of interactions between Cyclops and Xavier. We get interactions between Rogue and Xavier. It's just, it was interesting to see. We know where Rogue stands and how upset she is, but Cyclops is like in villain mode. Like, he's transitioning to the point where like something crazy, he's turning on Xavier. Like, he may not like be in 100% villain mode, but he just overrules Xavier. Like, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But so the X-Men split up into two teams. We have a gold team with Storm and Jean and Cable and Forge. Storm, Jean, Cable, Forge, Morph. And Beast. I think Beast is with them too. Yeah, Beast. And so they're going to intercept Bastion and stop Bastion, while they're the gold team. While the blue team, which is Cyclops and Xavier, Wolverine, Jubilee, and Jubilee, yeah, I think that's it, and Nightcrawler. They go to intercept Magneto, who has already showed up and knocked on Xavier's doorstep and basically declared war on the Earth, and he's like, here is humanity back to their primitive without their electricity, and basically like that was his final strike, and he's taking whatever mutants he can up in the asteroid M to create Avalon up in space. So Rogue and Sunspot leave with him and go up there. And so Xavier and that team, they go to intercept Magneto and try to talk to Magneto or try to stop him. So Xavier wants to override his mind and restore the electricity back to the world to save whatever they can. But it completely goes not as planned. So, meanwhile, Beast and Forge have created a neural inhibitor, which I thought was neat that they brought that back, and they can use it to shut down Bastion. And they're taking it, they're going to try to stop Bastion this way, and Sinister is there, and he's hoping that he's got a plan of his own. And it's just really neat how all this pans out. Like, there's so much going on, it's ridiculous. And they're kind of like with Cable too, like, so they get there and they're going up against Bastion Sentinels. He revives. He's like using his technopathy to basically power what, like, old school Sentinels that are around, and he's got a good bet, so he's well prepared. And they're fighting against Bastion and the Sentinels, and doing a decent job. And we see Morph turn into the Hulk, which is pretty neat. And then they get into they get in there to deal with Bastion, and Morph is masquerading as Sinister, and Bastion quickly sees through Morph's masquerade, and it leaves him and Beast, kind of there to deal with Bastion, while Storm and Forge are taking care of the aerial attack of the Sentinels. Jean and Cable are left to deal with Sinister. And when you think that Jean's got the upper hand and she's got Cable there to help her, no, not the case. Sinister definitely has the ability to control Cable, and that is when things get crazy. And Cable unleashes his mutant abilities, which we never really saw him do a whole lot in the original series, other than like picking up his gun with his telekinesis. But he just unloads all of his telekinetic power on Jean, and Jean's trying to stop him, and she calls out, for Scott. And in this moment, like, the gold team is losing. Like, this is classic. Like, this is the X-Men 97 season 1 version of Infinity War. Like, this is Thanos winning, or Bastion, or whatever the consequences winning. So, Cable is just unloading all of his powers on the Jean. Sinister's laughing in the background, being all weird and creepy like he is. Morph is already taken down by Bastion, and Beast has been taken down, and Bastion's got his hands on the neural inhibitor, and he's analyzing it to see what it's about. And then Storm tries to save Forge from the Sentinels while he's piloting the Blackbird, and they go down by the Sentinels, so they end up losing. And in the last ditch effort, Jean's crying out to Scott, and when Scott hears it, they're in the middle of a battle with Magneto. So they're fighting Rogue, Sunspot, and Magneto, and Wolverine has already made a couple of killing moves towards Magneto, because he's in that Berserker move. He knows Magneto needs to go down. And Rogue is holding Wolverine back, and then but then Wolverine gets free and gets on the Magneto and is able to remove his helmet. All the while, Sunspot and Jubilee kind of have a little spat where Jubilee kind of unloads her actual power, and you see her kind of show more of her abilities, which was cool because she's been working on that through the series. And then, and it looked like that Roberto and her kind of like were stopping what they were doing and kind of coming to a ceasefire with themselves. But then Xavier gets into Magneto's mind and starts to turn Magneto backwards or whatever he's doing, shut down Magneto or force Magneto to bring back the power or whatever, shut the continuous EMP down. Magneto's resisting, and in the middle of all of it, Scott gets a telepathic cry from Jean where she tells Scott that she loves him, and you see Cable just overwhelming Jean with all of his power, and we don't know what happens. We don't know if Cable actually like kills Jean or what's going on. But Scott, for some reason, turns and he blasts Xavier, and he says the gold team needs more time before we cut the power on. So, whatever that means, whatever Scott's got planned, we don't know. But this allowed Magneto enough time to get his helmet back, and then instead of him putting his helmet on to protect himself, he fastens the helmet to Xavier's mind, so Xavier can't use his telepathy, which I thought was cool. I always thought, what if Xavier had Magneto's helmet on? Like, what would that do? And it proves that that's what it does. So that's what happens. Xavier's neutralized. Magneto starts grabbing up everybody. Kurt tries to teleport. He hits him with a metal, creates a metal thing for him. He erupts. He even pins down the people that align with him, Rogue and Roberto, and then he gets Jubilee and Cyclops, and shuts everybody down. Well, these are all the people that are in his eyesight from when he comes out of the state. So Wolverine is behind him. He's not emitting his abilities at Wolverine. Obviously Wolverine's made of metal, so if he was, Wolverine would be done. But Wolverine gets him. He stabs him. And this just pisses Magneto off because, see, Magneto can control the iron in his blood. So if you stab him, if he becomes impaled or hurt, he can control the iron in his blood and really force his blood to be pumping through his body. He can basically heal some of his own wounds. Not on like level as Wolverine, but he can survive that. So Magneto gets pissed, and it happens. Like, we all knew it was coming when they went to Avalon. All of y'all that have read the comics, like, Magneto rips the adamantium out of Wolverine's skeleton. And that's where the episode left us. Like, boom. That was it. And my God, that was ridiculous. Left us all on a huge cliffhanger, and we don't know what's going to happen next. But what do you guys think out there? Leave some comments. Go hop on the Hops Geeks News Facebook group page and let me know what you think. But yeah, that's it, and I hope you guys are having a good one, and peace.